thank Megan and David very much for hosting this forum this evening, and Dodgen and Robin Latizori as well, and then Karen Halsey for your comments earlier tonight. We've got a pop quiz since we're talking about education. When is the SPLOST vote?
March 19.
Okay, you passed the test. Question is that why are we having a March vote and not a November vote? It's very, very simple. What the March vote allows this district to do, if the vote does pass, the funds will actually begin matriculating to the Cobb County School District on January 1 of 2014. Otherwise, funds don't start coming into the district until April 1 of 2014 if we were to have a November vote. So there would be a gap in collections. And that was one of the primary reasons for having a March vote. Now this plan was adopted by the members of the Board of Education to move to a March vote without objection. Now since then we had some other board members that opted to say, well, I'm not necessarily in favor of that, but the board did vote to have the resolution in March. Additionally, we have to have a little bit of a dance with the Marietta City School System. We can't go at this alone. And the Marietta City School System, in conjunction with the Cobb County School District, had determined that the March date was the best thing for us to do. Further, by having the vote in March, if this does pass, what will happen is that it gives us the opportunity to essentially begin architectural design and planning for major projects that would be developed started under construction during the summer of 2014. If we were to have a November election, the earliest that we would have major construction projects underway would be the summer of 2015. So those are some of the critical reasons there. Another question that's been posed is why are concession stands included? I was recently asked a question, is that why, what is educational about concession stands, and why does Walton High School, for example, have granite countertops at their concession stands? Well, first of all, the granite countertops were donated by somebody. I was over at Kell yesterday, and I was there for a lacrosse jamboree, and interestingly, they have stainless steel countertops over there, and stainless steel is even more expensive than granite. That was done by their booster club. The project for the booster project, the concession stands at Walton, about 60% of the total project cost for that concession stand was borne by their foundation and the Touchdown Club. What we're doing in SPLOST with the concession stands is we're addressing American with Disability Act deficiencies. We've discovered that we have several deficiencies, and we actually had a study that was conducted by HERE, an engineering firm, and they determined that we had some opportunities at our athletic fields. And frankly, we have students with special needs that are out at our athletic fields and can't get to the restrooms. They're going to go all the way back to the schools to use the facilities. So this is something else that we're addressing. Why are we not naming replacement schools? In the notebook, there's actually two replacement elementary schools that are noted. Neither one of them are named, and the reasons are very clear. I want to shout out to my colleague, Mr. Banks over here, fellow board member. David and I get along, I think he's great, but we don't necessarily agree on everything. And I mean that in a respectful way. But one of the things is that when it comes to schools, and new schools particularly, there's some very, very interesting legislation. One of those is a law that was drafted by Representative Earl Earhart. And what it says is that when you start to draw attendance zones, any board member that is affected by those attendance zones, if they have opposition to the way that the lines are being drawn, you go back to square one. If you have gone out and let's say, for example, that you specifically name a replacement elementary school, and then there is not cooperation in the community for that particular school, by SPLOST regulations, you're obligated to build it. So if the community is not behind it, and that's essentially what you're targeting, it's the wrong way to go about it. So there are replacement elementary schools in here, and if you are in a community that is interested in seeing that done, my plea to you is to urge and essentially advocate for a replacement elementary school. Is this just about sports and recreation? No, it's not. Although there are gymnasiums that are included in the SPLOST notebook, I can tell you, for example, over at Walton High School, they cannot host a general assembly in their gymnasium. The women's volleyball team, I believe, practices over at Eastside Elementary School because of scheduling issues. This is the type of thing that we're addressing with this SPLOST notebook. Is it necessary to fund maintenance through SPLOST? I would take a look around at many of the schools. We have roofing projects in the notebook, for example, at Timber Ridge. We have roofing projects over at Dodgen Middle School. Here at Dodgen Middle School, we have roofing projects, for example, over at Dickerson, among others. Roofing projects qualify for what's known as capital outlay. And the truth is that these projects are in the notebook for a reason, is that they're projects that need to be done. We do not have funds within the capital, the maintenance and operation budget to address these types of things. Why was the notebook developed on such short notice? I would argue that it wasn't developed on short notice. This process started during 2011. Mid-year, we actually had to submit to the state of Georgia a 5-year facility plan. And that's for all capital improvements for the district that essentially we would be appealing to the state for additional funding. We also had the athletic study that I mentioned earlier that was conducted in late 2011. The Board of Education heard reports on that athletic study in January or February of 2012. Additionally, the district had several studies that it did internally on curriculum and instruction, technology, transportation, among other things. Then and only then did the board start to talk about what we're going to do for a capital improvement program. Now, the options that we have before us are either going a bond route, which would essentially be an increase in property taxes, or through SPLOST. And the board collectively decided that SPLOST was the better way to go. At that point in time, we commissioned a third party, and that third party was set out to take a look at all the maintenance records, to talk to all the principals, to visit the schools, to talk about transportation, curriculum, technology needs, and so forth. What that study revealed is that we had more than $2 billion in needs district-wide. So there's a lot of people that are suggesting that what you did is you determined what the revenue was and that you basically built the project list from the bottom up. And it's just the opposite. The needs were identified first. We then actually determined what the projected revenues might be, and then based on the needs that had been identified, we essentially stripped out what we felt we could strip out, although they're needs, to end up with projects that essentially are at $718 million. So just in a nutshell, those are the points I was asked to address, and I know that there's going to be a lot of questions, and I think there's an individual here, Miss Amy Carroll, who is going to get up and make a statement as well. Is Amy here?
My name is Amy Carroll. I'm a parent from Eastside Elementary. I'm also fortunate enough to be